alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
What happens when you take Frankenstein's monster and pit him against a kaiju?
Frankenstein conquers the world.
This film was co-produced by Toho and UPA, an American animation company, and as a result, it features not only a Japanese cast, but also a limited American cast as well.
Let's get to the plot.
Towards the end of World War II, the Nazis acquire Frankenstein's heart from the lab of Dr. Rezanoff, who unwillingly gives it to them under threats of death. It is soon after transported from Germany to Japan to be studied for the potential advancements of medical science, but is believed destroyed during the bombing of Hiroshima.
Do you think Frankenstein's heart stopped anywhere else besides Germany and Japan? Maybe Mexico? England? America? Nobody know?
Yeah, we do. Pull that footage back up.
There's this map that shows that they don't actually stop anywhere else. Cut to 1960s Japan at a hospital where doctors James Bowen, Sueko Togami, and Kenichiro Kawaji are researching the survivors of the bombings during World War II while working to ease their suffering. On her way home, Sueko encounters a young boy who's been going around attacking and eating animals, including a school's pet rabbits.
You can eat rabbit.
I've never had it before.
Then let's go get some.
Nah, let's not.
Come on, man. You gotta venture out on your foods. You can't just be eating ramen all the time.
You're not my real dad, Mom!
While visiting Sueko to celebrate her birthday, James comes in contact with the boy when he is hit by a car outside the apartment. However, the boy is strong enough to get hit by a car and just get back up. Sueko gives the boy some food and he runs off into the night. The night! The next morning, the local villagers end up chasing the young boy into a cave where the doctors decide to help him and take him in.
Oh, well that was nice of them.
At the hospital, the doctors watch over the young boy, who they learn is Caucasian, not Japanese, as well as the fact that he has developed a strong resistance to the radiation of Hiroshima, despite having been born after the bombing.
Wait, so he's an X-Men?
No! What? No! That's not how that works. You read way too many comic books.
Sometime afterwards, Kawai is a soldier who helped deliver Frankenstein's heart to Hiroshima during the war, is now working on a oil rig. Strong rumbling occurs and one of the offshore rigs collapses into the sea. Soon after, the monstrous Baragon emerges from the ground, making his first appearance in the film.
Great first shot of Baragon, though he's not fully in view.
Dang, Baragon looks awesome.
Back at the hospital, the boy, who has noticeably grown, is intently watching a television. When a man on the TV screams in excitement during a music concert, the boy gets scared and lashes out, throwing the TV out the window. Sueko comforts the boy when he moves in closer, and the other doctors, assuming he's becoming hostile, attack the boy with a chair. He barely flinches and instead reveals his fascination with Sueko's pendant.
Frankenstein just wants the pretty necklace.
Come on, man, let him have it.
And he likes shiny.
He's shiny.
Shiny.
Later, Kawaji reveals that someone may have seen the boy in some ruins for about a year. As the boy continues to grow, he moves into the cage into the basement of the hospital, where the doctors continue to monitor him, allowing the press access to view him. The boy's infatuation with Sueko grows more apparent. The hospital begins to worry if they can continue to hold the growing boy.
The doctors learn of Frankenstein's heart and theorize its connection to the boy. In Germany, Kenichi learns more about Frankenstein from Dr. Reisendorf, who had been studying it, and hears of how Frankenstein was killed numerous times only to survive, and that his severed limbs continued to live even after being removed, while new ones grew in their place.
So I was right. He is an X-Man.
That's actually not that inaccurate, I guess.
Nah.
Sueko visits the boy whose chains are now cutting into his wrist. After Kaiju returns to Japan, the doctors decide whether to test to see if the boy is Frankenstein, and agree to hold off on finding out just in case they're wrong. Later, James and Sueko are cooking meat, waiting for Kaiju to join them.
Kawaji is about to test to see if the boy really is Frankenstein, but has second thoughts about his actions, just as news reporters arrive to film the boy. When their bright lights agitate the boy, he breaks open his cage. After a brief altercation with the police, the boy escapes.
Dang TMZ. He probably would have stayed in the cage, but no. TMZ just needed their photos. Jerks.
The boy then visits Sueko one final time before fleeing into the mountains.
Aw, he loves Sueko like she were his mother. Ain't that sweet? It just pulls on your heartstrings because it's a touching moment in this film.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, never mind then.
A press conference is held and the strength of the boy's chains are called into question. In the ruins of the cage, the doctors find the boy's severed but still living hand and attempt to keep it alive by putting it in liquid protein, confirming that the boy is indeed Frankenstein reborn.
Dang, it's like Thing from the Addams Family but on steroids.
Random attacks and sightings occur in other areas, leading everyone to believe that Frankenstein is responsible. James insists that Frankenstein shouldn't be killed because of what he can contribute to science. But after a party boat spots Frankenstein, the government is motivated to up their efforts in finding the giant boy.
Upon returning to the hospital, doctors learn that Frankenstein's hand has gone missing from the liquid protein bath, and it is soon found. The hand is now dead, and the doctors realize that Frankenstein needs to keep eating large quantities of food to keep alive.
During one of Frankenstein's hunting attempts, a tank falls into one of his traps, increasing the public's hostility with the creature.
A monster needs to eat. Leave Frankenstein alone! What did he ever do to you?
The doctors theorize that Frankenstein is living in the mountains and moving to lower elevation at night to eat, and speculate that he might be near Mount Fuji.
Baragon attacks a small town, killing many partygoers.
Okay, what is with it with people and partying when there are giant monsters around? Do these guys have a death wish or something? I guess if you're gonna die, you might as well do it drunk. Whatever.
I would.
In the aftermath, the citizens believe that Frankenstein is to blame. Doctors find it harder and harder to convince the public that Frankenstein should be spared.
In a mine, Baragon's underground tunnels are uncovered, and Baragon's glowing horn is spotted. Shortly afterwards, Baragon surfaces and attacks a farm. A pair of children spot Frankenstein nearby in the aftermath, adding fuel to his persecution. The military search a nearby cave and eventually draw out and attack Frankenstein. The doctors once again attempt to come to Frankenstein's defense, allowing Frankenstein to escape.
At least someone's on his side.
As the doctors limited Frankenstein's imminent demise, Kawhi arrives and discusses with them the possibilities of a second monster responsible for the attacks. Kawhi recalls his encounter with Baragon earlier, revealing that he burrows underground while Frankenstein walks on land. Unfortunately, the press and the other scientists rather incredulous of the claim.
Despite their funding running low, the doctors continue their search for Frankenstein. Kawaji begins to believe that Frankenstein should be killed and plans to blind him with special bombs, but James and Sueko plead for him to stop. Kenichiro tests one of his bombs, only for Baragon to emerge from underground and start attacking.
Frankenstein appears just in time to save Sueco from Baragon after she is injured. As the two monsters fight, Baragon shows off his impressive jumping skills and laser shooting horn. Kaiju is injured in the fight as Frankenstein fights to keep Baragon from escaping. Frankenstein then saves Kaiju and delivers him to James and Sueco, proving his kind nature once and for all. As the villagers evacuate, Baragon and Frankenstein grapple outside the village.
Frankenstein lures the other monster back into the forest and tries flinging flaming logs at Baragon, but the monster avoids the attack, resulting in a forest fire. Frankenstein then attempts to put out the fire, but still has to contend with Baragon. The military arrives, but holds off on attacking as the two monsters duke it out.
Let them fight.
With the forest now on fire, Frankenstein takes the advantage of Baragon's weakness to bright light and defeats his opponent. As Frankenstein claims his victory over Baragon, the mountain collapses, swallowing up Frankenstein, leaving the giant to his tragic demise. In the aftermath, the military departs and James laments that Frankenstein could not live in this world.
That's very sad, but he'll live on in our hearts.
The military arrives, but holds off on attacking as the two monsters duke it out.
Let them fight.
With the forest now on fire, Baragon burrows back into the ground and emerges on higher ground. The military prepare to attack, but Frankenstein gains the advantage in the fight and breaks Baragon's neck. Snap, crackle, pop. Frankenstein then flings the monster corpse into a ravine when a giant octopus appears.
Wait, what?
Frankenstein tries fighting off the giant octopus, and the military moves into position. But before they can act, the giant octopus drags Frankenstein into the sea, ultimately drowning him.
In the aftermath, the military departs and James laments that Frankenstein could not live in this world.
That's very sad, but he'll live on in our hearts.
Yeah, this movie has some great makeup effects for Frankenstein, and he does actually vaguely look like the more classical depictions of the creature. You know, like Boris Karloff.
He's not green like we would expect, but in the Universal films, he was more gray.
Well, that was because the Universal films were in black and white, not color.
There were really good fight scenes in this film.
Yeah, and apparently this movie was so popular in Germany that most of the Godzilla films released after this came out were called Frankenstein such and such.
This has been Kaiju Review. I'm Tank, and this is Protomet.
See ya!
Later.